Apparently Joe Biden's been given advice on foreign policy for the States. Foreign policy, can't find his way to the bathroom. Anyway, here's what D Vance had to say about Joe Biden's advice.
If we wanted to take advice from anybody on foreign policy, especially foreign policy in Europe, it would not be Joe Biden. So I wish Joe Biden the best. I don't really care what he has to say about American foreign policy because so much of what he actually did was a total disaster. If we just did the opposite of what Joe Biden did, I think we'd have one of the most successful foreign policy administrations in a very long time. So he can spend his time on the beach or doing whatever Joe Biden does. We'll continue trying to fix the problems that he created. If we wanted to take advice from anybody on foreign policy, especially foreign policy.
Sorry, I'm not very good at clicking it off, am I? Can you believe these people? The reason that America went red was because of Joe Biden. We're now living with our version of Joe Biden in Keir Starmer. He's loathed throughout the country. I'll show you something. Let me see if I can find it. So this is Britain's version of pushing back. It's just some lads in a pub. I'm not sure why they're there, but anyway, they're singing a little song that might just resonate with you. I mean, we are going through our Joe Biden years, aren't we, really? Nick Ferrari was on LBC and he was talking about Starmer's reaction to the council elections, where Starmer put, most prime ministers wouldn't listen, but we get it. We're going to go harder and we're going to go faster. I mean, that's like somebody on a motorbike with no bloody brakes. We're going to go harder and we're going to go faster. Yeah, you're going to crash. It's that simple. You've got one shot at this and you blew it. You blew it because you actually hit every single demographic in this country. The Pakistani community aren't happy with him. The pensioners aren't happy with him. The students aren't happy with him. Part of the NHS isn't happy with him. There's only civil service in London backing him up. When the councillors were going around, they were giving me some feedback. I'll tell you a little funny story. This just tickled me. Anyway, I'll get to that in a minute. When the councillors were going round, Labour voters were already telling them they'd had enough. Labour voters. Some of them who voted to protest, you know, because they were sick of Tories. And I had to laugh. I got a message from a councillor when they were having the meetings, you know, this flag thing, when they're flying the Union flag. It's not called the Union Jack, you know, it's called the Union flag. You're only allowed to fly that on council buildings, and they've obviously rethought, and you can fly the county flag or the George flag. Sorry about the phone ringing. It's only one of those scam calls. Why can't they stop that? But you're not allowed to fly any other flags. Anyway, a councillor told me that one councillor used to have a little desktop EU flag. We left 5 years ago. A desktop EU flag that he used to bring out at meetings even though we'd left. Don't you just love the thought that that's been stopped? Oh, yes. I mean, what is that flag supposed to be? It just looks like communism to me. It's basically supporting an autocratic state where you can't even have a say in your vote, even when you're a politician. I mean, I know that sometimes the government whips the party, or the opposition will whip the party, but in some instances they get a free vote. You don't get any free votes in the European Union. And I've just been talking to Amazon driver. He was unloading a pile of parcels, and he had a foreign accent. Said, "Where are you from?" He said, "Holland." And I went, "Holland?" He said, "Yes, I came here for politics." I said, "For politics?" And he said that it's that bad in Holland with forced immigration. He said it's that bad they came to England. And he's got British citizenship. He speaks English, obviously. His wife's Polish. She speaks English. They're both in work. They're paying taxes. And he said, big problem in Holland. People come only for the benefits. I said, well, we have that here. And he said it's not as bad as Holland. Holland must be bloody bad. You know, I respect people like that. And so I said to him, Did you vote in the councillor? Yes, yes, always vote, always vote. I can vote, I vote. I vote for Nigel Farage, always, always. Best man in politics. That's what he said, best man in politics. So, there you go. I love to pick up information off ordinary people because they'll tell you the truth. They're talking face to face. He's not being filmed. He's got no agenda. And I've asked loads of Amazon drivers if they voted in the council elections, and 4 or 5 of them have said they've never voted in a council election before, but they thought it was important because, you know, they're not on good contracts with Amazon. And what you've got to look at, unfortunately, whether we want to admit it or not, a lot of the people that's allowed to trail into this country is that they're not skilled people. They're just not. It's fabricated, is that we're not getting doctors and dentists. We are getting people who end up at Deliveroo. You know, somebody said on my Twitter feed the other day, well, if you want to find what illegals are, just order something from Deliveroo. Because it's hard to find them because they're illegally here. So it's not, if you wanted to find me, you could find me on the electoral roll. But you can't find people like that because they're not on the electoral roll. They're illegal. They've disappeared into the ether. And what we've got to do, we've got to get some sensibilities back into politics. Richard Tice was on Question Time last night, I think, and they're pushing back reform because obviously they've got the mayor of Lincolnshire now, Dame Andrea Jenkins, and she's pushing back on this massive, ridiculous solar farm on arable land. As you know, you grow a lot of potatoes and stuff over in Lincolnshire. And this is where you've got to bring some sensibilities back into what we do for the environment and the planet. And you're not going to get it with Labour. Because I look at Ed Miliband's backers. I mean, there's, you know, certain characters talk about the setup of reform. Dear God, these people in Westminster are ripping us off every day of the week. And the backers and the way they get funding and the lobbyists that support it all. You know, we've got to start getting parties in that are prepared to change the system. More a version of proportional representation. Not like Europe does it, that's buggered. What you've got to do is proportional representation that have to jockey up with the winner. Like if Le Pen won in France, if anybody wants to make a coalition, they jockey with the winner. Not with the 2 smaller parties making a greater number together. Because, in other words, you're going to get inefficiency, aren't you? Because not enough people voted for them. It's just a ridiculous system. But you can tweak it. And then you move on to direct democracy, where big stuff gets put back to the people, which is that little short video in my shorts. You know, if you go on my videos, go to shorts. I think it's the last one up, bit of a clip of Nigel, clip of me. I'm not clever enough to do that. Somebody did it for me. Where he says, I think it's got to come back to the people because quite often Parliament isn't in sync with the people. And what I find, he has people that find out what you're thinking, that bother to read their social media feeds. Starmer doesn't. They're not bothered. You know, I said it at a meeting the other night, I said, they're not interested. Well, surely he must know by now he's unpopular, but he's not interested. They're not, we are livestock on a tax farm. Does a farmer bother about what his sheep and his cows think? No, not really. That's where we are with this government and the one before it. We are the livestock on a tax farm. How can he think of ideas to get more money from us so he can send it where he wants? That's what's going on. The other lot did it as well. And Kemi Badenoch, please give it a rest. You haven't got what it takes. She doesn't think she can leave the ECHR because it's very difficult. No, it's not. It's not difficult once you decide to go. But what we've got to watch out for is all these well-funded think tanks, like the Tony Blair Institute and whatever Soros is funding, and the activism that they can, they're only ahead of us because they have better funded activism. They have it done professionally. And let's face it, a lot of lefties aren't bloody working, are they? Well, us lot, we're going out to, well, I'm not, but us lot are going out to work. That's why we haven't got time to take to the bloody streets moaning and groaning about things. So what you've got to look at, these lefties won't disappear when you get a new government. They'll still be there agitating and trying to affect things. So what you've got to do, you've got to be smart and you've got to create legislation, dump legislation, and I think the AI influence with, if reform were lucky enough to get in, will have a massive effect on the civil service, because they're running the country. Every time a government changes, the civil service doesn't change. They all stay in place. So their political belief system, they can hinder or they can promote a policy, and they can be the reason it's a success or a flop. Quite literally, the civil service. It's sickening to think. But as Nigel Farage has insisted, no more working from home. If you want the money, you come to work. I mean, we're paying for these town halls now. They're like ghost ships. This is wrong. It's happening in every town. There's no bugger in our town hall. It's like a skeleton staff. Huge building. And it's not that long since they paid a ridiculous amount per roll for wallpaper. Something like £250 a roll for wallpaper. Who do you think you are? It's just, we need to get sensibilities back to politics. That's what I'm about. I'm not about, I like to uncover stuff, but I'm not about really, I don't believe in taking to the streets. It's not that I don't believe in it. I don't believe it gets us anywhere. I think it gives you a feel-good factor. But, what I don't understand, this is common sense to me. Please tell me what you think, and I could be wrong. Trailing to London to demonstrate about anything on a weekend, which is when you're allowed to do it because they don't like you disrupting traffic during week. When all politicians are at the country seat or they've buggered off at weekend, Parliament's shut down. What is the point? You just annoy people who are in London, who don't support your cause. And the biggest thing is, if the media doesn't cover it, if it doesn't get on that telly, the rest of the country doesn't even know it's happened. You might be big time on social media, but unless the mainstream media covers it, nobody knows it's happened. And, the sad thing is, if we could just motivate people into getting into groups to email MPs so they got a batch of emails about the same subject, and that batch of emails outnumbered their majority, you'd make them sit up and think. You really would, because they want to get back in. And that's my thought process. It's a very passive way of pushing back, but it does work. That's how we got halal meat banned. There'll be other things coming forward, and the great thing is we'll get information leaked to us on social media about what's been going on at the councils. I think, was it Nigel Farage or someone said that one council has spent something like 2 million on a roundabout painting leaves on floor. Man, they're batshit. Unbelievable.